Once upon a time, there was a little-known place within Disneyland called Restroom Number 4. It wasn't marked on the usual maps. Hidden away from the bustling crowds, tucked between attractions where the shadows seemed to stretch just a little longer than they should. Most visitors never paid attention to it until the disappearances began. It started with a young boy. He and his family were enjoying their magical day at Disneyland when he told his parents he needed to use the restroom. His parents pointed him toward Restroom Number 4, which they had passed on their way to the next ride. The boy walked in confidently, the door swinging shut behind him with a soft creak. Minutes passed, and his parents began to worry. They waited, thinking he was just taking his time. But when they went inside to check on him, the bathroom was empty. The boy had vanished without a trace. Frantic, the parents searched every stall, but there was no sign of their son. Security was called, and soon a full search of the area began. They combed through the nearby attractions, the backstage areas, and every corner of the park. But there was no sign of the boy. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. The police were brought in, but their search turned up nothing. It was as if the boy had never existed. A few weeks later, another family passed by Restroom Number 4. This time it was a little girl. She ran ahead of her parents, excited to use the restroom so they could hurry off to the next ride. The parents waited outside, glancing at their watches as the minutes ticked by. But just like before, the girl never came out. When her parents entered the restroom to look for her, she was gone. Once again, the park security and staff searched every inch of Disneyland, but it was as though she had vanished into the shadows. As the disappearances continued, whispers spread among the employees. The custodial staff would talk about how strange things always seemed to happen near Restroom Number 4. Some claimed to hear faint voices, almost like children calling for help, coming from the walls. Others spoke of cold spots, where the temperature would drop suddenly. Even on the hottest days, one janitor even swore he saw a child's reflection in the mirror. Even though the restroom was completely empty, rumors swirled that Restroom Number 4 was cursed, or worse, that it was somehow connected to the secret underground tunnels beneath Disneyland. Some said that these tunnels were used long ago for darker purposes, and that the restroom was the last remaining entrance to these forbidden places. Others believed that something, or someone, was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next unsuspecting child to wander in. Then, one night after the park had closed, a security guard doing his rounds heard the faint sound of children laughing near Restroom Number 4. Curious, he approached the building, but as he got closer, the laughter faded into silence. When he opened the door, the restroom was pitch black. Even though the lights should have been on, as he stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind him, and the air turned icy cold. The guard felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something unseen was watching him. He rushed out of the restroom, locking the door behind him, and quit his job the next day. Now, many believe that the spirits of the missing children haunt Restroom Number 4, trapped in a place where time doesn't work the same as it does in the rest of the park. Some say they're still alive, but in a different dimension, and able to escape. Others claim that a darker force resides in the restroom, waiting to lure in its next victim. Restroom Number 4 still stands to this day, though few know exactly where to find it. Some say it's been quietly removed from the park's maps to prevent more disappearances. But those who work at Disneyland know the truth. There's something wrong with that restroom. Something dark, and if you ever find yourself near it, you'd best stay away, unless you want to vanish like the others. After all, at Disneyland, not every story has a happy ending. We don't know how long we've been here, or if anyone can still hear us. All we remember is that day at Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, or at least it was supposed to be. We were with our families, running from ride to ride, laughing, and feeling like nothing could ever go wrong. Until we went into the restroom. It didn't feel strange at first. It was just another bathroom, like any other in the park. The door creaked a little when we pushed it open, but we didn't think much of it. We were in a hurry, like all kids are, because we didn't want to miss the next ride. But when we tried to leave, that's when things got strange. The door wouldn't open. At first, we thought we were just being silly, that maybe we were pushing instead of pulling, or maybe the handle was stuck. But no matter how hard we tried, the door wouldn't budge. We called out for our parents, but the only thing that answered was silence. The sounds of Disneyland, the laughter, the music, the footsteps, they were all gone. It was like we were suddenly in a different place, a quieter, darker place. We walked to the mirrors, hoping maybe someone would come in, maybe one of the cast members who always seems to know when something's wrong. But instead, we saw shadows. shapes moving behind us, even though we were the only ones there. Sometimes, if we look long enough, we can see our own reflections, but they don't look quite right anymore. It's like we've been here too long. We're not even sure we look like ourselves. We tried shouting, banging on the walls, and kicking the door, but nothing works. No one ever comes. It's always cold here, colder than it should be, and we don't know why. The lights flicker sometimes, but even when they stay on, they cast strange shadows that move when we don't. The bathroom doesn't look like it did when we first came in. The tiles are cracked, the mirrors are smudged with fingerprints, and the stalls. Sometimes we think we hear whispers coming from them, voices calling us deeper inside. There are others here, too. We can't always see them, but we know they're around. We can hear them sometimes, crying softly, or calling for help, just like we do. Some of them have been here longer than us. We know because they don't talk anymore. They've stopped hoping. They just sit and wait, like they know there's no way out. Every now and then, we hear footsteps outside the door. We rush to it, banging and screaming as loud as we can, but the footsteps always fade away. We don't know if they're real or if they're just something this place makes us hear. We think maybe someone's out there, maybe they're looking for us, but they can never find us. Maybe we're too far gone. We don't know what happened, why we're trapped here, or if anyone even remembers us. Do our families still think about us? Are they still searching? Or have we been forgotten, lost in the crowds of Disneyland? Just another story? Just another rumor? Waiting.